សួស្តីគ្នាយើងទាំងអស់គ្នាអូខេតោះណាជើងនេះគឺចូលផាតទី4នៃ Hit Hatch របស់យើងហើយណាអូខេអញ្ចឹងយើងបានមើល3ផាតរួចហើយឥឡូវយើងចូលផាតទី4ទាំងអស់គ្នាអូខេ The Hitchhiker អូខេ Part 4 That will do and was a hot carrier may I ask. An odd carrier officer is a person who carries the cement up the ladder to the bricklayer, and the odd is what he carries it in. It's got a long handle, and on the top you've got bits of wood set at an angle. All right. Who's your employee? Yeah, don't have one. I'm unemployed. The cop wrote all these down in the black notebook. Then he returned the book to its pocket and did up the button. When I get back to the station, I'm going to do a little checking up on you, he said to my passenger. Me? What I've done wrong? The red-faced man asked. I don't like your face, that's all, the cop said. And we just might have a picture of it somewhere in our files. He strolled around the car and returned to my window. I supposed you know you're in serious trouble, he said to me. Yes, officer, you won't be driving this fancy car of yours again for a very long time. Not after we finished this finished with you. You won't be driving any car again. Come to that for several years, and a good thing too. I hope they lock you up for a spell into the bargain. You mean prison? I asked alarmed. Absolutely, he said, smacking his lips in the clink behind the bars, along with all the other criminals who break the law, and a hefty fine into the bargain. Nobody will be more pleased about that than me. I'll see you in court, both of you. You'll be getting a summons to appear. He turned away and walked over to his motorcycle. He flipped the prop stand back into position with his boot and swung his leg over the saddle. Then he kicked the starter and rolled off up the road out of sight. Phew! I gasped. He, that's done it. We was caught, my passenger said. We was caught good and proper. I was caught, you mean? That's right, he said. What you going to do now, governor? I'm going straight up to London to talk to my solicitor, I said. I started the car and drove on. You mustn't believe that, said to you about going to prison. My passenger said, they don't put nobody in the clink just for speeding. Are you sure of that? I asked. I'm positive, he answered. They can take your license away and they can give you a whopping big fine. But that told be the end of it. Uh, I felt tremendously relieved. By the way, I said, why did you lie to him? Who, me? He said, what makes you think I lied? You told him you were an unemployed hot carrier, but you told me you were a highly skilled trade. So I am, he said. But it don't pay to tell everything to a cop. So what do you do? I asked him. He said slyly. That's tall be telling, wouldn't it? Is it something you ashamed of? Ashamed? He cried. Me ashamed of my job? I'm about proud. I'm about as proud of it as anybody could be in the entire world. Then why won't you tell me? You writers really is nosy Parkers, aren't you? He said, and you aren't going to be happy. I don't think until you've found out exactly what the answer is. I don't really care one way or the other. I told him, lying. He gave me a crafty little ratty look out of the sides of his eyes. I think you do care, he said. I can see it on your face that you think I'm in some kind of a very peculiar trait, and you just a chin to know what it is. I don't like the way he read my thoughts. I kept quiet and stared at the road ahead. You be right who he went on. I am in a very peculiar trait. I'm in the queerest peculiar trait of them all. I waited for him to go on. That's why I asked to be extra careful too. I'm talking to you. Oh, am I to know? For instance, you not another couple in plain clothes. Do I look like a couple? No, he said. You don't, and you aren't. Any fool could tell that. He took from his pocket a tin of tobacco and a packet of cigarette papers and started to roll a cigarette. I was watching him out of the corner of one eye, and the speed of with which he performed his rather difficult operation was incredible. The cigarette was rolled and ready in about 5 seconds. He ran his tongue along the edge of the pepper, stuck it down, and popped the cigarette between his lips. Then, as if from nowhere, the lighter appeared in his hand. The lighter flame, the cigarette was lit, the lighter disappeared. It was altogether a remarkable performance. I've never seen anyone roll a cigarette as fast as that, I said. Ah, he said, taking a deep suck of smoke. So you noticed? Of course, I noticed. It was quite fantastic. He sat back and smiled. It pleased him very much that I had noticed how quickly he could roll a cigarette. You want to know what makes me able to do it? He asked. Go on then. It's because I've got fantastic fingers. These fingers of mine, he said, holding up both hands high in front of him, are quicker and cleverer than the fingers of the best piano player in the world. I'll do a piano player. Don't be daft, he said. Do I look like a piano player? I glanced at his fingers, and they were so beautiful, snapped so slim and long and elegant. They didn't seem to belong to the rest of him at all. They looked more like fingers of a brand surgeon or a watchmaker. My job, he went on, is 100 times more difficult than playing a piano. Any twap can learn to do that. There's teachy little kids learning to play the piano in almost or any house you go into these days. That's right, isn't it? More or less, I said. Of course, it's right, but there's not 1% in 10 million can learn to do what I do. Not uh, 1 in 10 million of about that. Amazing, I said. You done right. It's amazing, he said. អូខេអញ្ចឹងខ្ញុំសូមបញ្ចប់ពាក់ព័ន្ធជាមួយនឹងផ្នែកទី4នៃរឿង The Hitchhiker ត្រឹមប៉ុណ្ណេះណាអូខេយើងនឹងជួបនៅក្នុងpart បន្តទៀតណាអូខេ see you in next video clip